Today for Expedition, I wanted to share a book with you about rocks. This book is called If You Find a Rock. And it's just kind of a fun story because I know a lot of us, when we go outside and we go to new places, we look all around us and we see rocks. And oftentimes, they're really cool rocks and they might be special rocks and you might want to bring them home with you. And so here's a story that it's kind of fun to listen to, and it's kind of gives you some ideas about if you find a rock. So let's dive in. If you find a rock. I'll do my best to make sure you can see the pictures. If you find a rock, a nice, flat, rounded rock that sits just right in the crook of your finger, then you have a skipping rock. You toss it out in the water, just so, and see it trip across the surface, making a chain of spreading rings. Have you ever skipped a rock? I've done it before. It's kind of hard. It's fun when I can make it skip a couple times though. Maybe you find a soft white rock, a rock that feels dusty in your fingers. Then you have a chalk rock, and you use it to make pictures on the pavement. Or you might find a big mossy rock by the side of a long, steep trail. Then you have a resting rock, and as you sit down, you feel the cool moss squish beneath you. Mossy rocks are, I don't think we can really find too many mossy rocks around here. They need a lot of moisture. So they're in forests that get a lot more rain than we get out here in the desert. But that might be something, if you go on a trip with your family, that might be a cool thing to look for. Then again, you might find a rock with a stripe running all the way around it. Trace the line with your finger. You must circle all the way. You have a wishing rock, and you whisper what you want before you throw it. Have you ever found a wishing rock? If you find a rock, a big rock, I'll show you the picture in a minute. If you find a rock, a big rock by the edge of the water, then you have found a splashing rock. When it hits the surface, the water jumps out of the way, raining back down on your outstretched hands. The bigger the rock, the wetter you get. I love finding splashing rocks. Maybe you find a pile of small rounded pebbles. Then you have found sifting rocks, and you can scoop up a handful and let them slide slowly through your fingers. It's the magic page that matches the cover. Or you might find a rock whose water-smoothed surface catches your eye. If it feels easy in your hand when you rub it, then you have found a worry rock. You rub it between your fingers and your troubles are smoothed away. Worry rocks are really helpful to hang on to keep in a special place. Then again, you might find a rock sitting in a grassy field. Push it over, you have found a hiding rock. And in the cool, dark underside live all kinds of things that creep and crawl and hide out of sight. Have you ever lifted up a rock and seen all sorts of insects that creep and crawl hiding under the rock? I find those at my house sometimes. Not inside though. That would be unpleasant for me. It's tricky to read. Show you the pictures on this side, but I'll give you a good look in a minute. If you find a rock, a great rock that towers over you, then you have found a climbing rock. Hold on with your toes and fingers. Grip hard as you stretch up and pull until you reach the top, where you feel much grander than you did on the ground. Have you ever found a climbing rock? I bet some of you are really expert rock climbers. If you've ever visited the Granite Dells over by Watson Lake, there are so many great climbing rocks over there. Maybe you will find a twisting line of rocks sticking up out of a creek. Then you have found crossing rocks, which wait to meet your feet as you pass over the water rushing away all around you. These are some of my favorite kinds of rocks. Or you might find a rock with a print of something else, a leaf or a shell. Then you have found a fossil rock, and you feel the shape of something that lived long, long ago when the rock was young. Then again, you could find a small rounded rock right in front of your toe as you go down the sidewalk. You have found a walking rock, and you kick it ahead of you and let it lead you home. If you find a rock that's not a skipping rock or a chalk rock or a resting rock or a wishing rock, that's not a splashing rock or a sifting rock or a worry rock or a hiding rock, that's not even a climbing rock or a crossing rock or a fossil rock or a walking rock, but you like it anyway because it reminds you of a place or a feeling or someone important, then you have found a memory rock. And sometimes those are the best rocks of all. That is the end of the story, If You Find a Rock. And as much as I love to learn about rocks and teach kids about rocks, I love all of the kinds of rocks that we heard about in this book. I love climbing rocks, and I love worry rocks, and skipping rocks, and memory rocks. So your assignment for your expedition time today is to find a rock. And you might already have a really special rock inside your house that you want to tell us about, or you might get to go outside. Make sure you check with your grown-ups first. Go outside and find a special rock that's outside your house. Or maybe this weekend your family's going somewhere special and you can look for a rock then. I have a few special rocks of my own here at my house that I wanted to show you. And the first one is a worry rock. And it's small. It fits right perfectly in my hands. And it kind of dips down a little bit right here. And so I hold it and I can rub my thumb on it like this, and it helps me feel calm. And this is such a smooth, soft rock. So that's a special rock to me. I also, in a pile of sifting rocks, I was by a really big lake and it had a beach, and the beach was just full of pebbles, and I was looking so carefully at all of them. I was sitting down in this pile of rocks, and I found this little teeny tiny one, and I loved it because it's so round and it's so smooth, and it's hard to tell on the video, but there's some flecks of color in this rock, and it was the perfect size to bring home. I didn't want something really heavy, and I wanted something with a beautiful shape. So that's why I chose this one. And did you notice I kind of told you a story about this rock? I knew exactly where I got it from. I remember I was with one of my good friends, and we were on an adventure together. We went kayaking. We went on a whole trip in a kayak, she and I. And so this is a special memory rock. It reminds me of a special time that I had. And so now it's your turn to find a special rock. And on Monday, you are going to bring it to our expedition class, and you get to share your special rock with your class. And if the rock that you're thinking of is a climbing rock, or maybe it's a creek crossing rock, and you have a picture of that rock that your mom or your dad can help you find, you can bring a picture to show us your rock as well. So happy hunting, and we'll see all those cool rocks on Monday.